Teacher Talking Sports, what it does, what it do, how we live. And with week one of the NFL season in the books, we're going to do something after each week. We're going to highlight the fantasy stars of the week who were mostly unowned. So each week I will highlight one quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, and one tight end that were the top scoring players for the week, despite being owned in less than 25% of ESPN fantasy football leagues. So that's a prerequisite to get on here. You need to have been owned in less than 25% of ESPN fantasy football leagues. So let's get into it. This week one quarterback is Carson Wentz, who went into the week being owned in 16.7% of leagues, threw for 313 yards and 4 touchdowns as the Washington Commanders won their first game with him under center. They play the Detroit Lions next week. The Lions gave up a ton of points to the Philadelphia Eagles, and this was actually the first time since the 2017 season that Carson Wentz threw for 4 touchdowns in a game. Next, Dontrell Hilliard of the Tennessee Titans. Now, Hilliard did not get on here due to his running. He only had 2 carries, which he finished with 8 yards. Where he was used was in the passing game, scoring 2 touchdowns on his 3 receptions for 61 yards. Had the Titans in the lead most of the game, but the Giants came back to win. The other running back is from my alma mater of Rutgers, Isaiah Pacheco. Played mostly in garbage time due to the Chiefs blowing out the Arizona Cardinals. But Pacheco did run for 62 yards and a touchdown, was owned in 18.1% of ESPN leagues. Dontrell Hilliard was owned in 4.1%. Pacheco did have a fourth quarter touchdown as well. Wide receiver owned in 2.3% of leagues. That's it. Devin Duvernay, expected to be the number 2 receiver for the Baltimore Ravens behind Rashad Bateman. Was only targeted 4 times, but caught each of those 4 targets and scored 2 touchdowns in the game against the Jets. Play against a much better Miami Dolphins defense in week 2. Other wide receiver, he was owned in 8.5% of ESPN fantasy leagues. That is Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel now, he just hasn't stayed healthy. But if he could stay healthy, he could almost play like a poor man's Deebo Samuel role. In week 1, Carson Wentz had a great game, and he targeted Curtis Samuel 11 times, finishing with 8 catches for 55 yards and a touchdown. Also finishing with 4 rushing attempts, in which he totaled 17 rushing yards. So even being the 3rd receiver. Terry McLaurin, of course, number 1. Samuel, again, put up rushing stats along with receiving stats. Definitely should be added in most leagues. And last, the tight end that was barely owned in 0.3% of leagues. That is O.J. Howard. Howard was released before the season by the Buffalo Bills, picked up by the Texans. Now, it's not like he played a lot. He only played in 12 offensive snaps, 17% of them, but boy, did he make the best of his time. Targeted twice, catching both 38 yards, both for touchdowns. Of course, you can't expect that every week. So which of these guys would you think would be viable to pick up for week 2, the rest of the season? I definitely think Carson Wentz. He's got a bunch of weapons, and when Logan Reed comes back, that's another guy to throw the ball to. I think he's a guy that can play a valuable role in fantasy this year. Curtis Samuel, I definitely think, should be added. And Devin Duvernay should be given a look as well. They are playing Miami next week, Buffalo week 4. Definitely tougher defenses. But let me know in the comments which guys you're looking to pick up, even if it wasn't one of the guys I named. Don't forget to subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend and subscribe. Like the video, share the video, hit the bell for notifications. I'm out.